You've been able to gather lots of certificates, degrees, 5 masters, 1 PhD. It's no easy feat, right? I have 1 master's, and I know how tough and tedious it was for me. And then see someone who has 5 masters across 3 different continents. So walk us through that journey. Did you set out initially to acquire all of these degrees, or did it happen by chance? So just walk us through that.
I remember one of my colleagues told me that the only way to prove that you're first class in the university is genuine is to do it over and over again.
Yeah.
So it kind of sets a standard for me. And like literally all my degrees, I was like at the distinction level of first class. Success is a habit, it's not a one-off thing. I remember during my undergraduate studies, I only had 1D and a C. And for the 2 periods I had these grades, I literally fell into depression. Because I don't know what it felt like having a D or a C. There are opportunities in every field. You just have to do the best. The easiest thing that allows you to climb socially is education, academics, exposure.
Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Martin Owokwe, and on this channel, I talk about everything that has to do with scholarships, traveling abroad, especially to the US, and living in the US. Today, I have with me my very good friend who is here to talk about his experience, living and working in the US. He has a very interesting story, and I hope it's going to be a good use of our time today as he walks us through his academic journey, right from Nigeria to the UK, to the US, and now living and working in the US. So I'll let Ekene introduce himself. So Ekene, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Ekene Aguegboh. I am, of course, from Nigeria, but born and bred in the northwestern part of Nigeria. I don't know how many of you know Zamfara State, but that's like where I was born. Spent the first 24 years of my life there. Attended a polytechnic known as Federal Polytechnic Namuda.
You went to poly?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Did you finish?
I graduated, yeah. I studied accountancy there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Then, yeah. After that, I had a brief stint at Intercontinental Bank for like 1 year, after which I resigned and pursued a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Graduated in 2012. And after that, I completed a master's from the same school as well. But prior to the master's, I did my National Youth Service Corps in Osun State. After which I was recruited by University of Nigeria as an assistant lecturer. Then completed my master's in 2014. After my master's, transitioned to the UK for another master's, somewhere known as Durham, very close to Newcastle, for those in the United Kingdom. And from there, moved to the US. And yeah, here I am today in the United States,
Great. All right. So for those who have listened to what you've said now, you talked about like having a master's in Nigeria, going to the UK to do a master's, coming to the US to do another master's. And this is one thing that for me, it's very fascinating about your academic journey is that, you've been able to gather lots of certificates, degrees in your lifetime, 5 masters, 1 PhD. It's no easy feat, right? I have 1 master's, and I know how tough and tedious it was for me. And then see someone who has 5 masters across 3 different continents. And so I want us to can you walk us through like what your academic journey has been like? So you finished with a first class, right?
Yep.
Yeah, in economics from UNN. So walk us through, that journey. Did you set out initially, to acquire all of these degrees, or did it happen by chance? So just walk us through that.
Good question. I would say it's a combination of both. Some of them I set out, some by chance. So let me just backtrack. I know you don't know this part that well. So I started with accountancy at Federal Polytechnic.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, I completed it with a distinction in accounting.
Wow.
Right
Okay.
after my graduation, Intercontinental kind of gave me a job. Then I was in the banking industry. I was doing accounting and auditing. I just became bored and I started craving for more challenges. So I started like asking around what course I would do for bachelor's because I didn't want to like economics anymore. The reason being that I liked mathematics a lot. In fact, back in high school, I had won the cowbell maths competition for Zamfara State. So I've always liked math. So I was looking for a course that would allow me apply math. And it was a debate between physics, economics, and maybe engineering. And just because of my exposure in the banking industry, I kind of tilted towards economics. So that was the course I selected, applied, got admitted in 2008 at the University of Nigeria. To be fair, my original plan was get into university, play around, have fun, get a decent grade, graduate, because the bank was waiting for me to actually return.
Yeah, join them back.
Yeah, so that was like my plan. But then people who knew me like from high school were like, dude, we knew that you are better than like, an average like class of degree. Why not pursue a first class? And to be fair, I was not interested. I was not interested because I didn't think that Nigerians celebrate academic excellence as much. So
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. So I felt like there was little motivation. In fact, if anything, I would say my opinion. I think our society, and by that I mean Nigeria, kind of like to punish people who are considered deviants. Like if you are above the status quo, I think that society kind of feels, oh, you are doing too much. Or
yeah, they call you ITK, and
Yeah. So for me, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be the average guy, just be the other Joe like everybody. But then people knew me were like, dude, if we had your if you had your background and like your pedigree, we would like go for the best. So to be fair, I didn't set out to get a 2-1, but I would highlight one event that kind of changed it all for me. I had a friend who knew me from high school at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, when I went to study. And he just saw me, I was playing around. I mean, I was always hanging around female hostels, having fun.
Okay.
Yeah. Then one day he called me, was like, dude, you are not studying in this school. Why? And I'm like, I know that I can get a 2-1. 2-1 shouldn't be hard to get. So then one day he was like, is it that you don't want to aim for a first? And I told him, like, in my life, I've always like done well in school, and I don't think I was celebrated enough. I felt like I was being punished, or I got punished because of, my kind of, pathway. So he said, okay. Then one day he was like, I need you to go to an event with me. After that event, let's visit this conversation again.
Okay.
And I obliged. So on that fateful day, he called me, picked me up, of course, from girls' hostel, and took me to the award nights of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. So it's a very big event. It's an award night where they like celebrate excellence, And
the one that happens before the convocation, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So he took me. Then I was in my first year, so he took me to the award night. I was literally blown away. Like I saw for the first time where people are honored, celebrated. I mean, I give it to University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I don't know of any other university in Nigeria, but I don't know about other schools, but UNN is very, very like popular for that. Like they celebrate knowledge. That day you get to have a handshake with the vice chancellor.
So how much did they get? Was it just handshake?
Yes.
Because there was a time, this thing was trending online about, Nigerian universities giving first class graduates, 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira. Was it the same thing with UNN?
Kinda. So I would say that it depends. So across departments, there are different awards. Economics was better because I got close to 700,000 as at 2011 when I graduated. So it's kind of different, right? But of course, like, I think I got like 5 awards. There was an award from Zenith Bank. There was an award from Access Bank. There was the Dr. Pius Okibo Award for the best student. So I was the best student, both undergraduate and, my department and the Faculty of Social Science, which is like 11 departments. So they
Wow.
have
Oh, great.
type of awards. So yeah, in my time, it was better than what I used to get now. But let me
Okay.
just get back to the story I was giving.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he took me to that event, and getting there, like I saw excellence celebrated. People were, getting cash prizes. Some people got like job offers on the spot, and all of that. And the guy was like, so this is what you can do with, a first class. Like, this is what happens. And for me, that was what changed my mindset. I just told myself, like, I can do this. I mean, I've attended the Polytechnic. I was like the best in my class and the faculty. And I think I was the best in the entire school. So I could put in more effort. And at the Polytechnic, to get an A in a course is 90. At the university, it was 70. So
70, yeah.
for me, 70 was easier than 90. And trust me, like in my school, 90, you had to get the 90 to get an A. So coming to school, I can do 70 per course. It shouldn't be that hard. So that was what literally changed my mindset. And I started like working towards it. Another thing I would say is, aside from that event, I feel like the Insoka community and the university is one that celebrates and appreciates academics excellence. I give it to them. They encourage it. I think UNN was the first school to introduce post-UME in Nigeria under Professor Nebo Chinedu. So I would say it's a university that celebrates excellence. So just the fact that you are in an environment where you are incentivized to pursue excellence is enough motivation if you have like the right guidance. So I think that also set me on the right path. So yeah, that's how I decided. So that's why I say it's a combination. It's both an accident and, something I actually worked towards. Accident because I came not to have it. I was having fun. Someone who knew me kind of set me right and was like, dude, you can do this. And that was how I got into it. So
okay. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But looking back, would you think that having a first class, did it come with certain baggages? Do you think you would have been better off without a first class? Are there lots of expectations from people once they hear that you finished the first class?
That's a good question. So I would say that yes and no. Yes, because I remember one of my colleagues told me that the only way to prove that your first class in the university is genuine is to do it over and over again. So it kind of sets a standard for me. And literally all my degrees, I was at the distinction level of first class. So it comes with that pressure. I think another thing we need to realize is that success is a habit. It's not a one-off thing. Once you start doing something, you get used to it. And psychologically, mentally, it becomes your standard, right? So I would say that that can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. A good thing because, it kind of pushes you to stand out. But the baggage that comes with it is, one, it kind of makes you a perfectionist. So I remember during my undergraduate studies, I only had one D and a C. And for the 2 periods I had these grades, I literally fell into depression because I didn't know what I don't know what it felt like having a D or a C.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you are not well guided, it can really become a curse in a sense. So you have to be careful about it.
Okay.
Then another thing I would say is again, I think coming from the banking industry helped me because already I was already in an environment that I was pursuing a career. I had a little bit of social life. So I would say I knew friends or colleagues of mine who did not have a life outside the triangle, whatever it's called in Nigeria, the triangle perspective of going to the library, then going to church and just going to a classroom for school. So I don't think it's the best. I feel like while you are passing through the university, you also want the university to pass through you. You want to get some social skills. You have to be well-rounded, right?
Exactly.
So I just feel like, there are pros and cons.
Okay, that's good. And, I posted something online on Facebook yesterday about the discipline that comes with aiming for first class, right? So it comes with a lot of discipline and diligence, right? You have to study, you have to go to classes every day, you don't miss classes, you go for night preps. These are life skills that you can transfer, to other things, other areas outside of academics.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you said, the only way to prove that your first class is genuine is that, you go ahead for your master's and you replicate the same thing. You do another master's and you replicate the same thing. And interestingly, you're someone who you have done, after your first degree, you've gone ahead to do 5 master's degree, right? Across Nigeria, UK, and the US. And so, do you want to talk to us about what the process was like? So after your first class degree, did you get a job with the school? And at what point did you decide that, you want to explore opportunities outside of the country?
So, right after I graduated, of course, I did my NYSC in Osun State. But then I was recruited by one of the accounting stroke consultancy firms in Lagos. I spent like a month there. I didn't feel like it. And I traveled back to my alma mater and I was presented with the job offer to become, at the time, a graduate assistant. Because then it was after your master's, you get converted to an assistant.
So sorry, was it like an automatic job offer or you had to apply?
Yes. Yeah, so at the time, Nsoka used to do it.
Okay.
Once you have a class, either a first class or you are the best graduate in your cohort, you get like recruited to be an academic in that department. If you want, some people declined and left, but I wanted to go back. So I wanted to go back because there are things I had planned out for my life. One of them was at the time I was writing a book titled First Class Formula. It's just a compendium of all my experiences, how I read, how I studied, the tricks I applied to, do well in school. Then I was also like already publishing academic articles and I wanted to keep doing that. But I knew that I wanted to travel out to like further my education. So whilst I was in Nsukka as a graduate assistant, of course, I got enrolled into the master's program in my department. The funding for that program came from somebody who we all know in Nigeria, the ex-governor of Anambra State, Governor PhD. So in 2011 through 2012, he gave out close to 300 to 400 million naira to first-class students from Anambra State.
Oh, yeah. I had it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was one of the recipients. And of course, he gave an instruction. It was like, this money is for you to further your education.
Yeah.
So that was the money I applied to my master's degree in Nsukka. I started in 2000.
Sorry, for your first degree, were you on any scholarship?
Yes. So I was on Bishop David Oyedepo's scholarship.
Oh, okay.
So he was paying my fees. Actually, he started paying my fees from the Polytechnic.
Oh, good.
Because I came from a low-income background family. So yeah, at some point I was seeing myself through school. So the church came through. But then I also had like Ghana Family Scholarship.
Oh, okay.
School. And I won a couple of essay competitions while in Nsukka. In fact, as at when I graduated, I know I got 22 local, regional, national, and international awards during my undergraduate program.
Like altogether 22?
Yeah, 22.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah. So Nigerian Stock Exchange gave me an award. I had the best essay. It came with a cash prize, which I applied to my school. African Institute of Business Simulation. I won their competition twice. I came first runner-up. Digital Sense essay competition. I was the best in Africa, and it came with a cash award. So, like, I've been doing this stuff. Then just within Nsukka, there are groups, Economic Press Association. I was like, I won a lot of essay competitions there. Soludo had a group, a kind of a think tank in my school. It's called Policy Analysis and Research Group. I was like, I won best research.
And all of them came with like cash prizes?
Some came, some
okay.
Not. Some were mostly black and all of that. But like, my point is, out of those 22, a significant number of them came with like cash prizes.
Oh, okay, great.
Because at the time I was struggling in school financially, so I needed money to like.
Okay, so sounds good. Yeah. So the masters.
So when P2B's money came, I applied it to my master's degree, starting in 2014. But then at the same time, I was applying for MasterCard Commonwealth and Chevening scholarship. So I was going to complete the master's from UNN in 2016, but at the same time, I was applying for a master's degree abroad. So I applied to 34 schools and 34 scholarships.
Really?
33 of schools are in the UK, yes.
Okay.
And one of them was in the US, or is in the US. So, I mean, it's a numbers game, right? I was trying to up my odds of getting, or minimize my odds of not getting in.
So why did you focus? At that point, why did you focus on just universities in the UK? What, was it intentional? Was it because of the Commonwealth scholarship?
I did 33 in the UK, one in the US. Yeah. But it was because I felt like the UK masters was going to be fast.
Yeah, 1 year you're done.
My long-term plan was to come to the US. So I was like, I could go to the UK, do 1 year and transition to the US. I also felt like with all these things, they are like learning curves, right? So going in the UK, I will be exposed to like foreign education, be well prepared before I go to the US for a PhD. So yeah, when the result of the Commonwealth Chevening Scholarship came out, I secured 6 scholarships, but all the 34 schools gave me
admissions. Yeah.
So yeah. So out of the 6, I chose Durham University Business School because among my list, it was the top in terms of ranking, according to the QS ranking list. Then I also got both Chevening and I got MasterCard.
Wow.
And I got Commonwealth. But Commonwealth and Chevening are funded by the same body.
Yeah.
So I had to take one and drop the other. So I dropped Chevening and went for Commonwealth because Chevening requires you to come back to your home country after 2 years after you graduated. And I knew that I wanted to proceed to my PhD. So I didn't want that condition holding me back. So yeah, so I went to Durham University with Commonwealth scholarship. Commonwealth scholarship is very comprehensive. Mm-hmm. They pay for your flight ticket to and fro. Mm-hmm. So as you are starting the program and when you complete, your flight ticket is sorted out. They give you a stipend every month, something around £1,300.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, they pay your tuition. At the time, I think my tuition at Durham University was to the tune of £20,000 for the entire program. That was covered. They gave me travel allowance in the UK, so we used to do like workshops. They covered all of that. Of course, the UK, has winter, right? So they gave me money for winter clothing. So as soon as I got there, like I got my winter gears with the money and all of that stuff. So it's super like. I used to make a joke. I'm like, the only thing Commonwealth requires you to do is to present yourself at the airport.
Yeah.
And every other thing.
You had everything sorted for, yeah. So you didn't need to work like to make extra money. It was just focus on the academics and get the best out of it.
Yeah. So funny enough, when people say I have 5 masters, right? Let me just, give a caveat. I didn't.
You don't have to be modest, okay?
I didn't do them consecutively.
Yeah.
They actually run concurrently.
Oh, okay.
So Commonwealth came when I was still doing my master's in Nigeria.
Okay.
So I had just completed my coursework and I moved to the UK. So it wasn't in the UK that I completed my research for the Nigerian master's. And I graduated with the equivalent of a distinction. So that was there. Then in Commonwealth, I focused on my coursework at the time. I think I flew into the UK September 2016. As at June 2017, I had completed the coursework. So the way the UK runs is your thesis is like a different, or like British call it dissertation. It's like a different course on its own.
Oh, okay.
Some schools allow you to run it concurrently with your classes. Some of them will wait until you are done with classes. So I finished my classes in June, and the idea was to complete my research by November and wait for my grades, right? So the same time I got Commonwealth, I also got MasterCard. And the scholarship was affiliated with Michigan State University in the US. So before I embarked on the Commonwealth journey, I called Michigan State, called MasterCard. Like I told them that I would like to defer my admission for 1 year because I wanted to go to UK, get experience and stuff. So, and they accepted.
Okay.
So as at June 2017, I was done with my coursework and I quickly transferred to the MasterCard scholarship in the US. So I left the UK in June. In fact, I think cumulatively I spent around 9 to 10 months in the
UK,
UK. I didn't complete my mind.
Okay.
But then I had my research, right?
Yeah.
So I moved from Durham University and transitioned to Michigan State University. Surprisingly, MasterCard scholarship offers the same package like Commonwealth.
Okay.
Flight ticket, tuition waiver, living expenses covered, but then it had extras. Aside from paying you a stipend, they pay for your rent. So I never had to pay rent.
Oh, wow.
Through yeah, and just so you know, I had a fancy apartment. I was living like in a house.
So how much exactly were they paying you? Like the stipend?
So the stipend was around $1,000.
Yeah.
But then I didn't have to pay rent.
Yeah,
so covering rent.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, because most scholarships will just pay you stipend and then expect you to take care of like accommodation and other living expenses.
Yeah, so it was around $1,000 cumulatively. But then they were paying for my rent as at the time. And they gave me a Mac computer as well when I came. Of course, the whole winter clothing stuff also came with it. So yeah, that was how I moved to the US. But while I was doing my coursework in the US, I was also completing my research in the UK.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I was doing my research, and I sent in my dissertation, I think sometime around September, October in 2017. And then I focused squarely on my master's program at Michigan State. Okay.
So right now you mentioned the master's in UNN in Nigeria, the one in the UK, and then the MasterCard masters that brought you to the US. So tell us about the other two masters and then the PhD.
Okay. So the masters that brought me to the US is the one from Michigan State, right? So I completed that in 2020. And then I kind of moved to Auburn University in Alabama for my PhD. But then at the time, I became interested in data science, right? So I kind of enrolled for a master's in data science concurrently with my PhD. I think part of the problem was I was used to doing 2 degrees at the same time.
Okay.
So I think doing one was less fun. So I wanted to So in 2020, I enrolled for the master's data science and my PhD. And of course, the master's was faster, right? So as of 2022, I had completed the master's, but I was still on my PhD program, right? And again, like I told you, I became bored. I'm like, it's just PhD.
Okay. So, you mean it's just PhD?
I mean, I was just running one program. I needed more challenge. So
yeah, but for people who are, for like viewers who are watching this video, PhD in the US is very intensive. It's very intensive. A lot of work, a lot of research. So for Ekene to say, it's just PhD,
I mean, I don't want to like sound arrogant about it, but like I've been doing school. In fact, some of my friends call me a career student. I've been doing school for a while. So I know the tricks, right?
Okay.
I know how to teach classes, how to prepare for exams. So for me, just doing a PhD was boring.
Okay.
So I stumbled on this master's program in financial engineering. It's run by the World Quant University. So because I had finished the master's in data science, I enrolled into that other master's.
Okay.
So it was like, I was doing the third year of my PhD concurrently with this master's program. So it was squarely online, but my PhD was in person. So I was combining both. I completed that master's degree December 2025 last year. But I completed my PhD. Sorry, let me backtrack. I completed that master's degree December 2024.
Okay.
Which is last. But I completed my PhD in December 2023.
Yeah. And how many years did you do your PhD?
That's a good question. So my PhD is complicated. On paper, it reads 3 years, right? But I did a lot of my coursework at Michigan State University. So I kind of transferred my credits.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was just like it's circumstantial. It doesn't happen that way. I was able to transfer my credits, so that way I focused more on my research and did the master's in data science. So on paper it's 3 years, but if you ask me, I would say it was 6 years because everything I did in Michigan State counted.
Oh, okay. PhD. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about all of the like funding opportunities that you got. Your first degree, you mentioned, you had scholarship from Aguegboh. The master's was, P2B. Your second master's, MasterCard. third masters, Commonwealth, then MasterCard.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to talk to us about, how did you prepare yourself for these opportunities, and how can like young people, people who are still in school right now position themselves to be able to get these opportunities? Because for most people, the biggest challenge that they have with furthering their education is finance. Studying abroad is very expensive, and these opportunities are very limited. So how did you position yourself, and what advice do you have to younger people who are interested, who are looking at, getting these opportunities once they're done with their first degree?
So in terms of preparing myself, I recall that in 2015, I took an online program with Coursera. It's titled, I think, How to Get Scholarships in the UK. It was hosted by the University of Sheffield at the time. So I kind of went through the course from start to finish, and I learned a few tricks. I also saw another course on the same platform by University of Pennsylvania, which was about finding scholarship and funding opportunities in the US. So these two programs kind of made me know the difference between applying for scholarships in the UK and the US. One of the biggest expectations is your personal statement, right? You have to be able to sell yourself there. It has to speak for you in your absence. You want the admission committee to look at it and say that I want this guy to come to my school. In fact, when I was in the UK, we had an event, a Commonwealth event, and one big shot in the UK came. He was like, "Who is Ekene here?" And I said I was the guy. He was like, "Oh, I read your essay."
Oh,
it was super impressive. Yeah, he remembered, he made the notes. So I guess it was the one who read my essay and recommended me that, "Oh, I want these dudes to come." The same thing, the chair at Michigan State, the chair of the Applied Economics Department, also remembered my name. So the thing about the UK, the US, that makes it different from the UK is that you also have to write GRE, right? So there's a standardized exam. So I wrote GRE, had a good score. Then my personal statement was good. And I got strong recommendations from my professors in Nigeria and in the UK. So these are the things you want to do to prepare yourself for schooling. Yeah, of course, there is a test of English exams.
Okay.
I mean, I even wrote both IELTS and TOEFL because I know IELTS was more in line with UK and TOEFL was more in line with the US. I mean, knowing what I know now, I needed just one.
Yeah.
Right? But I did both of them because I was trying to make sure that I dot all my I's and cross all my T's just to be sure.
So do you think having a first class was really helpful? Do you think that was what, gave the scholarship reviewers, that window to now, look at your profile and, look at other things you've done, like a personal statement? Do you think the first class was the icing on the cake?
So yeah, I really like this question because this is one misconception people get. Did the first class help? Definitely, yes. You are competing with people from India, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and some of them have first class, right? So if you don't have it on that scale, you kind of, have a higher bar than you do. So the first class helps. But I will say that some of these admission and scholarships, the committee members are not very, very keen, on grades. They'll look at you as a package. So, there is your first degree, right? There is your standardized exam scores. So your GRE score, your TOEFL or IELTS score. There is your personal statement, which is not a score, it's more subjective, right?
Yeah.
And it's a space that allows you to tell your story. You can make a compelling case for yourself. In fact, I know people who write their personal statement and discuss how they were able to do well in school after getting an F in their first year. And they find it very interesting when they get scholarships. Your recommendation letters, right? So if your professors in Nigeria write very, very impressive letters on your behalf, it kind of helps you. So it's this entire package that they look at. In my opinion, I think that they have a rubric. They have a rubric per section. So when it comes to your class of degree, there's a rubric. Your standardized exams, there's a rubric. Your personal statement, there's a rubric for it. Your recommendation letter, there's a rubric. So I think it's looking at all these things, then decide on whether you are a good fit or a good candidate for the scholarship or not. So I would say it's more than just
it's a combination of everything.
Yeah, but it does help. I also like to add, I know people who got Commonwealth scholarships with 2-1s. I mean, Commonwealth and Sheshevening does not allow people with less than 2-1 to apply. So I know people got with a 2-1 and first class. But MasterCard allows for two 2s, like a second class lower division. So yeah. So there are these pros and cons here and there, but you just need to find what works for you and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, just to add to what you said, and this is for people who are watching this video. These scholarships are very competitive, very competitive. So the same way you want to get a fully funded scholarship is the same way thousands of people all over the world are also looking for the same scholarship. You can't be the regular Jew and you expect to get this scholarship. You have to do extra. So with everything you're doing, your application has to be excellent. So if you're writing a statement of purpose, it's not enough to just go to ChatGPT and say, kindly draft a letter of statement because every other person is doing that, right? You want to do something extra. You want to come, so your resume should be on point. Letters of recommendation has to be excellent. You have to do extra for you to be able to get these scholarships, right? Because you're competing with thousands of people. And for some of these scholarships, the acceptance rate is like maybe 10%, 20%. So the bar is really, very high.
Yeah. So yeah, there is that. I also feel like I told you, you are looked at as a package, right? And I don't know that ChatGPT can tell your story better than you do, right? You are the one who lived through your life. So I used to tell people, I read at a forum, Asians, right? Indians and Chinese, they spend up to 6 months writing just personal statements.
Wow.
So it's not something you want to do in one night or in 1 week. You have to dig deep. There is some level of introspection. Is your story. My opening lines in my personal statement are always powerful, and it's if you see it, I remember the opening line to my Commonwealth scholarship. The first sentence is everyone was disappointed. That's how I started the essay because I knew the story I wanted to tell, and it's the story of the fact that I used to be a science student. In fact, my WAEC was literally all A's and just 1B or thereabout. So when I said I wanted to do economics or accounting, my teachers in school, my classmates, some of them were pissed. Even my parents, they struggled. They were like, dude, you had an A1 in maths, you had a B2 in physics, you had an A1 in health science. You should be going for medicine, right? And I woke up, I said I wanted to do economics. So that was the first thing I told. The story I told was everyone was disappointed. And the disappointment was because I wanted to be an economist when they all expected me to be a medical doctor. Then from there, I started writing about my motivation for wanting to be an economist. So I think it's kind of resonated with most people who were reading it because they're like, here is a kid who is very strong-willed about wanting to be an economist. And he did not only go against the tide or against people who expected him to be a science student, but he actually studied this course and was the best in his class. So that's the kind of motivation we are looking for because they want to be sure that when you come abroad, you are able to complete your program. Let me just say this here. I know we kind of brushed this off, but studying abroad is a lot of work. I tell somebody it's a career. The way you do 9 to 5, that's how you study abroad. There is no slack into it. If you slack, it will show literally. And for me, I had a bar set, right? So I had a distinction equivalent at UNN. At Durham University, I also had a distinction. So I always wanted to, keep that record going. So it's a lot of work, countless nights of staying awake, burning the candle on both ends, and I have a very, very horrible habit of doing 2 degrees at the same time. So,
one interesting thing that happened is when I moved to the US for my master's, and I was told that, I met with my course advisor, and he asked me to register for 3 courses. And I'm like, 3 courses for the entire semester? Because coming from Nigeria, where you do maybe somewhere around 12, 13 courses, in a semester, I felt, so if it's 3 courses, maybe it's going to be a simple and easy semester for me.
Yeah, walk in the park, right?
What I didn't know was that I would spend much more time reading, doing assignments, attending classes for those 3 courses than I did doing maybe 12, 13 courses in Nigeria. Like it was that intensive. It was that intensive because like it's studying in the US is completely different. That the experience is completely different from what some of us, had back in Nigeria. So, I get what you're saying. Okay, so now you've had, you're one of the few persons who have had the rare opportunity or privilege of studying in the UK and studying in the US. So do you want to talk to us about what do you think are the peculiarities and, differences between studying in the UK? Because there are people who are turning between, should I go to the UK to study or should I go to the US to study? Can you help them? Because I think you're the best person, to provide perspective on that. So can you help them make that decision?
So this is an area I hardly want to dabble into.
Why is that?
It can create some controversy.
No, I feel free. So, it's a safe space.
Yeah, so I had 3 masters from 3 continents, right? Mm-hmm. And in terms of difficulty, right, here is my ranking. The US ranks like number 1.
As expected.
Number 2. What do you think? What do you think I would choose for the second?
Nigeria.
Exactly. Nigerian master's degree came second.
So are you sharing people who are doing masters in the UK?
So that's not the point. So I feel like UK masters, the goal, the objective, and the idea behind it is kind of different from masters in the US and masters in Nigeria. So most UK masters, I could be wrong, and I stand to be corrected. But most UK master's degrees, to the best of my knowledge, are kind of project-based.
Okay.
And projects are very subjective, right? They are not exams, and it also doesn't come with the level of intensity that you see in the US. So like I said, in the US, every week you have assignments that are graded, your attendance counts, you even they allocate some percentage to like projects in the course, but then you still have like midterm and final exams to write. Like all of these things put together is what gives you your score, and all of them, like you can do well in everything, but you don't come to class, you get a B.
Yeah.
Because attendance might be 10% or 15%, depends on what the professor writes. You can come to class, show up, but you don't do well in your midterm or your final exam, you get a C. So coming to class is hard work, right? But to get a good grade is not enough in the US.
Yeah.
You get. But in the UK, they don't really care about attendance. I mean, I did not attend most of my lectures because I didn't find them useful. I would rather like go to the library, get my study materials and read. So it's project based. I feel like the UK masters is designed mostly for mid-career level people. So you're already like doing a career or something and you want to like upskill or you want to switch to another area. I don't know that the essence is not to get you down to the granular things like writing exam. Like that's not what they do. They just want you to have high level exposure to some of these experiences and tools that you need. Then when you get to the industry, you kind of apply them. So I'm not going to say it's a shade. I feel is the ideology behind it. The same way, right? Let me just make a comparison. Given what I know about undergraduate studies in the US, UK, and Nigeria, if I were to make that ranking, right, my number 1 might be the UK, number 2, Nigeria, number 3, the US. Because the undergraduate program in the US is not designed for academic rigor. It's heavy on civic education. They call it American exceptionalism. So it's like, they don't want to do things the British way. They're like, we want people to be qualified citizens when they graduate, know the law of the country, understand like civic, stuff about society. And maybe that's why the country is doing well. America is very, very big on human rights. They have the most dynamic legal system, right? Some things you won't even get in other climes. America would like make cases for it in court. So for them, that's the essence of their undergraduate, right? However, the expectation is that if you are somebody who is super smart, you are a genius, you want to do like serious academic stuff, I think what is expected is professors are supposed to find you and encourage you to start taking master's level classes during your bachelor's.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is so that at the time you are completing your undergraduate, it comes with a master's degree and they can fast track you to a PhD program. So yeah, but by and large, I think the idea is to make you a well-rounded citizen with civic education as opposed to academic rigor. However, if you're an outlier, then you go all the way to PhD. So I think it's the ideology that you have to look at, not the fact that maybe one is better than the other. For me, it's what they aim to achieve that matters. And just the outcomes in these countries, right? You can see how their education system literally divide, the kind of helps shape their society, in terms of politics, education, technology, and other spheres of life.
Okay, yeah. So settling intern in the US, what were some of the challenges that you felt? Because with everybody, there are these initial cultural shocks that you get to experience when you move to a new country. Did you get to feel to experience any of that when you moved to the US, and what was it like?
Yeah, in terms of shocks, of course, there is weather shock, right? I never knew that.
Did you move to the US during the summer or winter?
I moved right at the onset of winter.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere around August, September, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, it wasn't as cold, but it got cold over time. And I quickly, it was a rude awakening for me. Jesus Christ. So, Michigan cold is, you can only compare it to Canada and Russia.
Yeah, the Midwest is crazy.
The Midwest is crazy. So, yeah. So there is weather shock. I struggled with that a lot. Then there is also cultural shock, right? You are in a new society. There are cultural differences as opposed to where you're coming from. So that took a while to get used to. My advice to people who travel or Jackpot is once you are abroad, put yourself out there so that you can learn these things because there are skills that you need. There are ways you talk in society. There are mannerisms. There are things you don't do. I remember one time I went to a museum with a friend and some lady was pushing her baby and left the baby to grab something and he went to go help push. And they were like, dude, don't do that. She can literally shoot you. Yeah, in Nigeria, I mean, you get a very big thank you. God bless you. God will do for your own children. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
So mind your business.
So, mind your business. Yeah, this is a very individualistic society. There are individualistic societies, so you don't want to be doing these things here. Just go out there. Like me, I went out a lot. Of course, I like to go to clubs. So you want to go out, be around Caucasians. You want to be around Asians, you want to be around Africans too, because you are from Nigeria, right? But East Africans kind of behave differently. Some of them consider us very loud. So, based on where you find yourself, know how to read the room and know how to act or be in your best character to make the most out of different social settings. So,
yeah, and just to add to what you've said, traveling is the best form of experience. And education too. So when you travel abroad to study, it is not about what you learn within the four walls of the institution, right? It's about the people you meet. It's about the experiences you have. It's about you learning new cultures, learning about people. So, because most times you find people when they move abroad, they also want to, identify people who look and sound like them. So they want to look for their fellow, countrymen, fellow Nigerians, and they want to stick with them. You're not open to trying out new food, trying out new experiences. And, you just want to do, go to Nigerian restaurants, go to Nigerian clubs, go to Nigerian parties, and you're not doing yourself, good, when you, when you refuse to mix up with people from different tribes. When I was in school, I had a roommate, an Indian roommate, right? And I got to learn a lot about the Indian culture, about Indian food, just living with him. So those experiences are very helpful.
Yep.
So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll say it's just human behavior. People literally gravitate towards their comfort zone, but you have to be intentional about going outside your comfort zone because you will not always like your employee, your fellow colleagues when you work in real life in the US or the UK will not be from Africa, right? So you need to learn how to navigate those spaces. You get there are certain expectations in terms of social life at workplace, even in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure you have like a diversified set of friends and colleagues. It helps a lot.
So let's talk about visas and immigration, because for some people, they want to go study abroad and they've gotten admission, but the biggest challenge is how do they get these visas, right? Because if you're from Nigeria, you know how weak the Nigerian passport is, and so if you're applying for, let's say, a UK visa or a US visa with someone from someone from Canada, for example, or someone from UK, it's the adjudication process is completely different. So as someone from a third world country, you're going to be well scrutinized. They're going to ask you for lots of bank statements and all of those things. So how did you navigate, getting the UK visa, getting the US visa? What was the process like, and what advice do you have for, people who are in that situation right now?
So, my experience is kind of unique, right? All my studies abroad came with funding, fellowships, and scholarships. So in terms of bank statements or showing proof of funds, I never had to worry about any of those. To be fair, I don't even know what it feels like.
That's a huge flex.
Yeah, I don't know. Like my interview for the UK visa, in fact, I went unprepared because there's a joke we make where like Commonwealth, we are the children of the Queen. So, I went unprepared to the point that I forgot some of the documents, but eventually I got the visa, right? So yeah, but that being said, I would say that because in doing all of these things, I've also helped people who like have partial funding or all of that stuff. I think that one thing people should know is like be careful about the things you read online. Some people like they share half truths. I wouldn't say that they lie, but they share like half truths. So don't see somebody's experience and then transfer it to your expectations during an interview, right? So there are like checklists, right? So for the US, for example, your proof of fund has to be like very, very tight. If it's coming from your parents, make sure that, there are documentation. Of course, you have to show that your dad is your dad, right? So that they can associate you with the person paying the fees. If it's coming from your personal savings, make sure that your proof of fund or your bank statement has lasted for a while, so that it's not like you borrowed money and dump it on account to deceive anyone for visa and all that stuff. Then I would just say, I would say there's also anxiety, right? So most people don't really like, maybe it's the pressure for wanting to travel out. People like get anxious during interviews. I mean, I don't know that I have to deal with that. I just go there, present myself, answer questions, and answer it like answer questions to the best of my abilities. So that's what I will pretty much say. But that being said, I also say that one thing that matters when you're applying to the US, I don't know about the UK because I didn't have to deal with that, is tied to your home country.
Yeah.
So one, I don't know that you should be somebody who does not have a job or you're idle in Nigeria and you go for a visa interview. The consular visa will not take you serious. I mean, we are in the West, right?
Yeah.
You see how much
you need to prove home ties. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but you see how much time we put like working, right? So you just wake up and, I'm not doing anything and I want to go to the US. Of course, they know that you won't come back.
Yeah.
And that's not what they need to hear. Another thing that I feel people understate, especially Nigerians, is your NYSC experience. So your NYSC experience is synonymous with what Americans call the Peace Corps program. It's a very prestigious program. I know that, everything in Nigeria we all disregard, right? But NYSC, if you read the documentation behind it, it's a noble cause. So, be able to, say what you did in terms of community service, in terms of employment, in terms of, giving back, in terms of, mentoring younger people if, for example, you taught in school or you did something with a non-governmental organization. Like, just make sure that you elaborate. Like, don't sell yourself short. It's a very powerful program. I think Nigerians don't realize how powerful. And just so you know, it's a job. Like, you were 1 year, you were a government recruit for 1 year. So don't leave that gap on your CV or your credentials saying after you graduated to when you get your first or second job, you were not working. You were doing something that didn't matter. It does matter. In fact, I know people who got scholarships in the US and the UK just because of the way they sold their NYSC experience. And yeah, it was what got them here. So that's one thing I would want like Nigerians to take away from this. Don't play with your NYSC experience. Like, even while you are doing it. In fact, for those who are still in school, before you go for NYSC, plan what you want to do. Like, make sure you are intentional about what you want to do. And for everything that you did, document it. Like, make sure you have proofs, if possible, pictures. One of my essays, I had like links to YouTube videos of things I did in the past. And that got me on a $150 million project in the US.
Wow.
Just that video.
Wow.
Because that video, what I did in Nigeria, is really close, very, very close to what the grant was going to achieve in Africa and Tanzania. So they were looking for a Nigerian academic that would work on the project with them. And I was selected because I had like proof to show that I had done something that is related to that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So just to piggyback on one of the things you mentioned about not just believing everything you see online, is that if you're going to study abroad, one of the things you should learn or start learning is how to do research. Like, do your own research. Don't take anything you hear from anybody, including me, to be a gospel, right? Don't take it hook, line, and sinker. Do your own research. I tell people, even people who reach out to me, because part of what we do at Mundus Consult, to help people, make that decision of what country to go to and then help them with the entire process. I tell them there is nothing we are doing that you can't do for yourself, right? If you have the time, there's nothing we are doing that's extraordinary that you can't do yourself. There's nothing any agent is going to do for you that you can't do yourself, except you don't have the time to do it. But if you have the time to do it, do your own research and find out. So go to the university's website, go to the immigration's website, find out exactly what you need. All of these things are available online. If there's any information you don't find online, you can send them emails. So reach out to the program advisor, send them emails, and they're going to respond. I know as Nigerians, we don't have that, email culture, right? You're looking for your information, you can't find it online, and you already assume that if you send an email, you're not going to get a response, right? So if you want to study abroad, you must learn how to do basic research, search for information online, and be able to help yourself out without relying on on any third party. I think we've done almost an hour. How time flies, when you're having really fun and interesting conversations. So I really want to thank you, right, for what you're doing. I know some of the things you've mentioned here today, I already know because we're friends, and I feel your story is very, very inspirational, and a story that there are lots of young people in Nigeria who are like, maybe they're still in school in their final years. Some of them are maybe doing youth service, and they're unsure of, what to do with their life. They don't know that some of the things you've mentioned now, they don't know that it's possible. They don't know that you can, get fully funded scholarships, that covers not just your tuition and living expenses, but covers, your flight tickets, and also gives you stipend, every month, right? So what you've done today is to just let people know that these things are possible and to inspire young people to take academics very seriously. Because what we've seen these days is that because of how, people who are into fraud are very loud online. So people think, if you're studying, if you're being diligent, if you're all about academics, then you're wasting your time, right? And so you see more and more young people are seeing academics as less interesting, and they want to go the easier routes, which is, fraud. And so looking at your life and your story, how far you've come from being a career student, now you're living in the US, making a lot of money. And I want people to be inspired, and I hope that people who have watched, this 1 hour session will be inspired by your story to take the academics very serious, right? Aim for the best, there's nobody should shame you for being the IT in the class. Nobody should shame you for, trying to do, too much, right? Go all out. If there's a first class out there, why not? You know how growing up, our parents will ask you, you come back with your results, and the first thing they'll ask you, oh, what position did you take? And you say, oh, I took second, I took third. And then they will ask you, the person who took first, how many head does he or she have, right? So it's doable, right? I didn't get a first class, but I wish I did. So when I see people who finished the first class, I'm super, I'm very respectful of them and, what they've achieved. So just to close, do you have is there anything you think, we didn't talk about that you think, you would want to add at this point? Any advice that you have to give to young people, final words of encouragement, to people who are watching this video?
So, what I would like to say in closing is just as a person, right? Because I know society can be very, very distracting, right? Find something you are passionate about. And trust me, it can be anything. It mustn't be tech. It mustn't be economics. It might even be fine arts. I mentored a student, a lady, I think she's in the UK. She had a first class in mass comm at University of Nigeria. That girl is the best graphic designer, painter I have ever encountered in my life. So find something you are passionate about, pursue it. One thing you emphasize there is research, right? Because you want to be this, even if it's carpentry, welding, do your research. The world has become like one small global village. There is the internet everywhere. I mean, just a few years ago, artificial intelligence became a thing, right? So there's AI. So you can literally go online and start researching about something you are passionate about. And I'll just say, don't follow the crowd all the time. You can, we're in the tech age, right? But maybe your part of tech might not be data. Your part of tech might be videos or editing or social media management. And, I tell people there are opportunities in every field. You just have to be the best in that field.
Exactly.
For your name to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So don't limit yourself to just one thing. If there's anything you're passionate about, go for it. My extra advice on that is while you are pursuing passion, try to also be knowledgeable about what is trending, so that you can have something to fall back on if your passion doesn't work out, but yeah, for me, I believe that passion is important. Then secondly, I would say, I know that there is a lot of ills in society currently in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. I mean, last time I visited University of Nigeria, it wasn't what it used to be. So I would just say, again, do not listen to what's going on in terms of vices. See, you can be anything you want to be. And the easiest thing that allows you climb socially is education, academics, exposure. So my advice to young people who are in despair, I did not come from money. In fact, at some point in my life, I sponsored myself in school before I started getting scholarships. So I think I share that in common with a lot of Nigerians. So don't give an excuse of, oh, I didn't come from a family that is wealthy. My father is not Davido's dad or Dangote. It doesn't matter. All of us are on our different journeys. So just pursue yours, whether you're male or female. Sit down, read your book, do your best. And yeah, when you are prepared, you just need opportunity. And when both of them meet, people call it luck, right? So that's what you really want to do to set yourself, on the right path.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ekene. So on the final notes, I want to set you up. So do you have, so now you're done with, all of the degrees you've acquired. I don't know that maybe you want to get additional degrees, but, at this point, do you have plans of moving back to Nigeria? If no, why?
Okay.
maybe to go contribute to Nigeria, make Nigeria great.
I didn't see
make Nigeria great again.
Yeah. We'll call it
Mana.
Mana, right? Yes, I plan to give back in the future. To be fair, I used to be clear about how I wanted to do it until a few years ago. So I'm at a point where I'm kind of reorganizing my plan. but it's always been something that I wanted to do. In fact, I went back to Nsukka to teach because I wanted to be a professor at that university. I don't think that dream has died. I think that a lot is going on in the world right now. You and I know. I think the world became like crazy after COVID-19. So I'm kind of looking at patterns, the trajectory we are going into, to kind of redefine how I think I can give back best in Africa. I also say that even before COVID, I wasn't into tech. I was more of an economist. And economics has some data aspect, right? But you see how I've pivoted my career. So we might be discussing in the next 5 years and I won't be a tech person anymore. I've gone back to do something else. So I would say yes. The answer is I plan going back to Nigeria. As regards definitive plans about it, I don't know yet. But I know that I'll get there. I just need to be more intentional about it and plan it out carefully.
All right. So thank you so much, Ekene. It's been a very amazing section with you. 1 hour just sharing your story and accepting to do this. I understand how how difficult it is to make 1 hour in the US, for anything outside of work. So you making that sacrifice, just to come talk to us and to anybody who's going to watch this video. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be inspired by some of the stories and experiences you've shared here today. So thank you very much, Ekene. And please, if you're still watching at this point and you've not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button right now to subscribe on this YouTube channel so you can continue to get videos like this. I post and I talk about studying abroad, education, living in the US, and I hope you get inspired by some of our stories. So thank you very much, Ekene.
I also want to thank you, Martins, for you like to record Martin without the S. Or Martin so thank you for what you are doing. Like, this is super, nice. It's inspirational. I know that you are making a lot of impact. Just, keep on doing the good work. For people like us, I'm sure there are a number of us. We're always happy to jump, on these things and help out in whichever way.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ekene.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good one.